In this video, I want to introduce Einstein Scenarios, which is a new Tableau extension that I've been developing. Einstein Scenarios empowers a Tableau creator to seamlessly add predictive capabilities from Einstein Discovery into their Tableau dashboard. Let's take a look at a quick example first. You can see here I have an attrition impact and risk dashboard. If I open my pop-up window here, you'll see a set of controls, and down here, a prediction that's coming from Einstein. So as I move this prediction around, so let's change it from 4.5 years of tenure to, let's say, 1.5 years of tenure. We'll go back out to Einstein, and I can see that the likelihood to leave jumps from around 25% to nearly 94%. But beyond that, Einstein also has some really powerful explanatory tools built in. So if I click on Explain, Einstein will actually provide me with a breakdown of the top contributors to that overall prediction that you see here. So 49.7% of this is driven by tenure. The fact that this person has a tenure between half a year and 3.3 years. Similarly, if I flip it back to 4.5, you'll see that now my tenure is benefiting me. It's reducing the likelihood that this individual leaves. So let's take a look at how we might set this up. Okay, so you can see that I have now removed the extension from my dashboard here, and we can walk through the setup process. But before we do that, I thought it's worth pointing out that we're actually already running this data through Einstein as part of a Tableau prep flow. We've built an additional integration that allows us to design a prep flow that will pass data through predictive models in Einstein and add the prediction results to the data set. And that's how we're able to identify, say, that Debbie Farley here is a high risk of leaving the company. That high risk status is derived from predictions that Einstein's making as part of our prep flow. So that becomes a really powerful tool, but where Einstein Scenarios comes in is if I want to enable my users to do this same type of analysis, but in a little more free-form way. So if I want to give my users the ability to really look at and analyze the change to a prediction based on a certain set of input parameters. So let's jump over to how we set all of this up. So I'm going to open my window again here. First, I'm going to add my extension. And when it loads, it's going to start walking us through the setup process. The first step that we need to take care of here is authenticating to Salesforce. So I'll click the button. It's going to open my browser. It's going to ask me to log in to Salesforce. I'll hit login here. And once the authentication happens, I can jump back over to Tableau. And you can see that now my setup flow is talking to Einstein. So the first thing we need to provide is which prediction definition we're going to use. So in my case, I'm going to use the Workday Minimize Attrition prediction definition. So all of these prediction definitions are effectively models that I've built in Einstein before I recorded this video. This is the specific one that we want to use today. We'll click Next. And here's where we're actually going to make use of these 5 controls here. So if you recall, these controls are hooked up to Tableau parameters. So I need to tell the extension which Tableau parameter maps to each of these Einstein model parameters. So when I built this model in Einstein, one of the things that Einstein did for me was it looked at my data set and it was able to identify that these 5 parameters are the key drivers for attrition. So I'll just quickly map these. And I'll click next. As long as everything looks good here, we'll click done. And we are getting our predictions. So you may recall that the example I showed earlier at 1.5 years of tenure is about 94% probability of leaving the company. But you'll also probably notice that the display format is a little different here. So if I'm a data scientist, this probably makes perfect sense to me. But if I'm sharing this with an end user, maybe someone who's less familiar with the data, I probably want to be a little more explicit. So Einstein Scenarios will allow you to configure a lot of different preferences. For instance, I can configure the background and text color. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to jump over to the prediction screen. In general, the text looks good to me, but I do want to display this as a percentage. And rather than 2, I'll just use 1 decimal place. I'm also going to add a suffix just to make it very explicit what we're talking about here. The other thing that I want to change is the explanation. So the first thing I want to do is I want the user to recognize that these values are related to that percentage that we're giving as a prediction. So I'm going to set the value as a percentage. It's also going to have 1 decimal place, so it matches exactly what we see in the predict screen. And down here, under explanation, these numbers are not percentages. This is a tenure in years. So we're just going to clean it up a little bit, make it easier to read 1 decimal spot. Most importantly, though, we need to realize that for this particular model, an increase is a negative. So an increase means that someone is more likely to leave the company. So this default color scheme ends up being pretty misleading for us. But that's okay. We can switch this up. And in fact, we're going to switch it up so that it matches up with the color scheme in our dashboard. So we're going to change the up arrow to use the red from our dashboard. We're going to change the down arrow to use the blue. And when we hit done, we can see that we're back to where we started at. So if I look at the explain, now I can see really quickly that anything that's an increase should draw my user's attention. As I change the values here, let's go to 4.5, we'll see that just like before, more tenured folks are less likely to leave the company. And so using this type of analysis, if I was, say, an HR professional, I might want to really dive into why we seem to have people leaving our company very early in their careers. Maybe this is something that should be really concerning to me. And I can surface that using Tableau along with the power of predictive from Einstein Discovery. Thank you very much.